Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be Outer Banks 2, Season 2. Let's get into it. So, a review like this doesn't do, uh, a long 10 episode series any real true justice because it's just an overall of the whole season because it's not breakdown by episode. So it's everything crammed in one, you know what I'm saying? And subscribe to the channel, like the video before I get started. But season 2 pretty much picks up right after season 1 ended. And, we can just go over the brief cast. Madeline Klein plays as Sarah Cameron. Chase Stokes plays as John B. Madison Bailey plays as Kiera. Rudy Panko plays as JJ. Charleston Eston plays as Ward Cameron. Austin North plays as Topper. Drew Starkey plays as Rafe Cameron. Jonathan Davis plays as Pope. Julia Antonia plays as Wheezy Cameron. Elizabeth Mitchell plays as Limbry. Catherine Arpogalou plays as Rose Cameron. Colin Moss plays as Deputy Shute. E. Roger Mitchell plays as Mitchell. And that's pretty much the bulk of the cast right there. So what you have in this, like I said, it picks up right off of season 1, where Sarah and John B survived the storm, and they were picked up by a boat that was out at sea at the time, and they used the gold piece that they had to flag them down. And once they flagged them down, they brought them on a boat. Pretty much the captain of the boat was basically saying, I've been in love before, and that was, an issue, but basically I survived it. So while they're on the boat sleeping, and you have two main characters that entered. You got Terrence Rosemore. He plays as Captain Terrence. That's the captain I'm talking about. And Carlicia Grant plays as Cleo. And so she's another main character. She's on the boat as well. So one of the mates on the boat pretty much magically appears. There's the missing wanted sign for John B for 50,000. They find that, and they know they got John B stowed away in their where their cargo stuff is. So they make the plan is, they could use that 50,000. So when they dock, they're gonna have the authorities come and take them so they could get their reward. So they tell John B and them pretty much, hey, hide in this room right here. Don't go nowhere. And as soon as the stowaway customs leave, we'll come back and get y'all. Meanwhile, John B and them is like seeing what's scary happen. So when the customs security people come, they break out the glass and take a run for it. Now, on this Nassau, Bahama island, Sarah and her family, they have a house that was built on that island. Now, that's where they believe the gold was stored. And of course they were right. So one night John B goes and he pretty much goes and seek to find the gold. Sneak on Sarah's property and check the landscape. And he does see the safe, and he couldn't get in. Now, meanwhile, back at OBX, what's going on is, of course, the crew is in mourning, thinking John B and Sarah didn't survive. So, they had a funeral for the um, the cop that was killed, and they're feeling, sad that they carved something in the tree for him. So John B did steal one of the hotel that they snuck in. He stole like one of the workers' phone and sent them a text of him and Sarah. And basically, while they was in school, they all, got elated pretty much that, um, elated that they were alive. So after everybody knew they're alive. Basically, John B and them was saying, "Hey, try to clear my name." So while John B and them is working on a plan to steal the gold back, the Pogues is working on a plan to try to clear John B's name. So that's where the adventure is taking place for both parties. So when John B went to go check on that gold, Sarah woke up and she told him not to go, but he went anyway. She woke up, she was upset, and she got kidnapped by the captain. The captain pretty much now know who she is, and they grabbed John B. He came there and he told them what they were there for. He told them all that would happen. He didn't do the killing, and so they said, "Well, what's gonna stop us from turning you in to get the 50,000?" Of course, he brought up the gold piece and said, "It's more of it where that is." So when they all went on the property, Sarah knew the code to the safe. And of course, all the gold was there. And this safe is basically outside. And she knew the code was when they was going to take the gold, what happened was the security showed up. And they were calling, they ended up, after they dispersed, and the captain locked Sarah and John B out. And the cops had John B, but Sarah put the sprinkles on, and he was going to show a picture of John B to Ward, but then the sprinklers messed up the phone. So Sarah helped John B get loose. They locked the gold back up. Now they're plotting on. Went back to the captain, and they're plotting and planning like, "Yo, y'all need to help me get this. Y'all need to help me get this gold." And the captain like, "Why should we?" And so they was like, "We'll give you $2 million." And the captain was like, "All that trouble we gotta go through, and you only gonna give me $2 million?" So she was like, $10 million. And so the Captain Mate Cleo said 10 million apiece. So you find out when she said 10 million apiece, she got some individualism going on. So her and Sarah become cool, and you find out that she was, trying to survive on the streets, and the captain brought her on. But she was saying, you got to stay 10 steps ahead of the captain and don't trust him. So they devised this plan that Sarah will find out when her dad come to get the gold. They'll make a diversion in the town where it leaves the dad on the road by himself, where they can put the gun to him. And then John B and Sarah will come and snatch the truck. Meanwhile, back at OBX, the gang is trying to clear John B's name. They're going through all these hurdles. And while they in school, Pope gets a letter from somebody, which you find out is Libre, basically saying, "I got a way to clear John B's name. I got some information. Come meet me by yourself." And he got to take the chance. So the person say they're in Charleston, South Carolina or whatever. So he goes, but of course he get the gang, and he takes his dad's truck. And when they go, they meet Libre, and Libre, she has a stepbrother who she kind of treats like crap and basically makes her a stoolie, but she don't really like embrace him. She just uses him because she's sick, and she's using him to find out information. So she tells Pope that somewhere in his family there's a key that she's looking for, and Pope doesn't have no idea what she's talking about, but she think he's lying. And so he pretty much leave, but then they try to kidnap him but he breaks loose. So while he's breaking loose, the rest of the gang, Kiera and JJ is looking for him, and they come and help him break loose. Meanwhile, back at Nassau, Bahamas, you got John B. and Sarah and the gang plotting on Ward and Rafe. Now, Ward had killed somebody, the pilot who was about to ransom him for Rafe. So what you see in the first couple episodes is Rafe and Cameron. Rafe is raveling and he's killing people and it's becoming easy to him or whatever. Then you see Ward kill somebody, but now you see where Rafe is getting it from. So he kills the pilot because the pilot was trying to blackmail him and had the gun that Rafe used to kill the sergeant or the captain, the sheriff, the sheriff of the police in the season 1. So they got the murder weapon because it went in the drain and Kiera went and got it. They gave it to Shoot, and Shoot pretty much was like shooting them down, pretty much like, not believing what they saying. So they gave him the murder weapon. They told him to check it. And meanwhile, they went on their mission to Charleston. Meanwhile, the plan worked with John B., Sarah, and the gang. They end up getting Rafe and Ward alone on the road. Not before Rafe and Ward got to see that John B. and Sarah was alive, and they was shocked. And you seen Ward like, Sarah, baby, Sarah, and he more concerned that his daughter was alive. And so Rafe took a shot. He's shooting at John B., but he ended up shooting his sister. So that was a big thing where the captain took the goal and left. Cleo was saying, all right, we're going to give y'all 8 hours. Meanwhile, Captain Terrence told John B. and Sarah, go to this guy, and he's like a doctor in the area. He'll tell him I sent you, he'll help you. So it went through this big dramatic moment where Sarah almost died, but then she came back. So she came to and basically said, we gotta get to the boat. Meanwhile, the authorities on the island, basically they're looking for John B. and Sarah, and Ward told them that pretty much his daughter's been brainwashed and bring his daughter back to him. So of course the tourists in the area told him they seen her with a gunshot wound going up to this doctor. So now they're making a run for it. Meanwhile, they run into Cleo on the street, and Cleo pretty much told him like, yo, y'all, the captain got confiscated. I jumped in the water and dipped. And so they get back to a pier and they end up stealing a boat, and Cleo helped John B. and Sarah get gone. So when Cleo helped John B. and Sarah get gone, they took the boat and they headed back to the OBX. Now, in the process of going back to the OBX, they have to stop in Charleston because they need gas. So they manip somebody gas. Now, keep in mind, I said the rest of the gang is Pogue Life is there in Charleston as well. So while they're running from the guy that tried to kidnap Pope, John B. and Sarah's running from the guy who they manipulated to get some gas from. And of course, they run into each other. And it was a big, happy moment. And they pretty much at that point all end up getting back on a boat, pretty much saying, we need to have a Pope, back together party or whatever. And so at this moment, things is getting thick. Things are starting to cave on Ward. He got the gold, and he goes back to OBX, and they're back in OBX, and then they're pretty much still trying to frame John B. for the murder, but things is cracking down or whatever. So what ended up happening is they find out John B. wasn't the one who did it. So they, not before Ward tried to pay off one of the dirty cops to have John B. killed. Meanwhile, Rafe tried to kill Sarah as well, and John B. ended up getting released from jail like the next day that they found he's not the one. And you find out that Topper came and helped Sarah. And he, of course, he's still head over heels over her, takes her back to his place, and basically helps her live. He beats up Rafe. And so what happens is you find out that Pope is related to the guy who stole the slave who became rich and found the treasure and all that. His family is related to him. And so you find out that Libre, she's looking for this missing cross that has this cloth inside of it that if you touch it, it heals anybody who's sick. And also, the cross itself is made of solid gold. It has diamonds and rubies and stuff. So that's becomes a new treasure hunt mission. Meanwhile, you got Rafe is fuming and speeding out of control, but you know, he comes in and out of being focused and not. So things is cracking down. FBI is involved. Now they no longer looking at the dad, Ward. They're looking at Rafe. So they come to the house and they strip searching everything in the house. And Rose, the stepmom, helps the dad get out. He pretty much goes sees Rafe and tell him, take this money and bounce. And it becomes this thing whether he need to choose between Sarah and Rafe. And he basically said, I want to choose between either one of my kids or whatever. He's a parent, rightfully so. But, you know, you got JB and the pole gang. They're all looking for this. They're putting all their heads together. They're trying to find the clues. And so Pope goes and talks to his great-grandmom, and she explains to him about the key that they said is missing. So he went in her old apartment and looked in the tiles, and pretty much he found the key. And so they tried to hide the key, and then of course the goons, Libre had her stepbrother had goons, and then they ended up giving the key to him. Meanwhile, they had there was a friction with Topper, showing how much he still loves Sarah, wanted her to be with him. And then Don B was pretty much like talking to another girl, but they both still love each other. But it's, you know, it becomes a little spat at a bonfire. That happened, and then of course the pole crew, they end up finding the cross. Of course, after finding the cross, Rafe and the Libre goon, Libre's stepbrother, they get the cross. Meanwhile, all the kids are rebelling with their parents, and Kiera is having it out with her family. They want to send her off to like behavior school for teens, and of course all of them are 16 and I think they're going into their senior year or something like that, and they want to ship her off, basically get her out of that life. Her and Pope hit it off in this season, and so now you back to the Karens, Ward and Rafe got the cross. How they gonna get it back? John B's name is clear, but then Ward, this was where it was a lot of ridiculousness in this season, stuff that where the writing could have been better, but I guess that's just me critiquing it, where it was just like, really, they just did that? Like, it was like a lot of nonsense. So Ward faked his death on the yacht. You knew it was the obvious. Like, if you watch movies, if you ain't see a person die, they still alive. And which going to bring me what happens at the end of the season as well. So Ward fakes his death. I already knew that was going to happen, but nevertheless, in front of everybody, he blew himself up in the yacht. He committed in front of the authorities that he killed everything. Rafe wasn't the one, because they had Rafe locked up, and so that took Rafe off the hook. And so he committed himself, so that backs the authorities off. Meanwhile, Rose received a letter in the mail. Basically, you knew when she received that letter in the mail that you knew he was still alive, because she instantly went in action to make moves. And plan was to get the whole family on this boat. They already got the cross. They had to get Sarah on there. So Sarah came in. She's still emotionally distraught and all that. And so Rose drugged her, and that's how they got her. But meanwhile, the pole crew is watching all this. They watch Rafe drive off with. They watch Rafe drive off with the cross, and he's going to the rendezvous port, the port with the big boat where they leaving for, and Pope runs and jumps on the back of the boat. Like, come on, that was like it didn't make sense. They just watched them off, and then they see Sarah walking out, and they had to hold her up, and they just watching her the whole time. They waited all the way till she got in the car, and they drove her off in the car before them to make a move. So that was like ridiculousness. They jumped in the car and they followed. So they stowed away on the big ship where the gold is somewhere else. I don't know if he transferred it into money already, but they got the family and the big gold cross on the boat, and all the whole crew was stowed away on there, and they're trying to devise a plan how they gonna infiltrate, find out where Sarah is, and plus get the cross. Now, like I said, as you thinking these is all teenagers doing all this whole madness, dealing with adults and all that. So a lot of breakdown. Lo and behold, Cleo is working on the engine, so she became another person that works on a boat, and Pope runs into her first, and then she's pretty much, him and her have a back and forth, a little fight, and he breaks down and tells her the truth why he's on there. As soon as she mentions John B, as soon as he mentions John B and Sarah, she backs up, like, because she know that's her people. So she ended up saying, you better not be lying. So he takes her to go see them, and then now she knows them for real, so now she's going to help. And so it becomes this big thing, and then Sarah sees that her dad is not dead, and so that makes her feel different, because she thought that even though he did all that wrong, that was still her dad. But of course John B thinking, you killed my dad, so I don't care nothing about you. And so, she kind of was mad with John B that he wasn't sympathetic that was still her dad. So it becomes this fight between John B and Ward. John B has the opportunity to kill Ward, but he looked over at Sarah and then he didn't kill her. He just let him be. Because she was, at that point, she was going to be willing to let him kill her, but he didn't do it. So they got off on a raft. JJ got hit over in the head with a machete, and Pope was Garrity. He pretty much dropped the cross in the water, basically saying, if I can't have it for my family, then nobody will. Not before Rafe had the time to grab it, and the whole crew helped pull it back up. Meanwhile, there was a moment when they already knew they had the cross secured. Rafe had the gun pointed while they was driving off on a speedboat that was attached to the ship. Rafe had a point to shoot at them, and he could have shot somebody on a boat. But, his sensible mind came in, and my sister's on that boat pretty much, and he let them go. They figured we already got the gold, now we got this gold cross, and we good. So they end up on this random island somewhere, pretty much said, we're gonna make a life out of here. And they like, we lost again. We don't got the gold. We don't got the gold cross. The Camerons, they got everything. We got nothing. Now, rewind back, Libre, who's connected with, she was connected with Big John B's dad, and they were working together to try to find the gold, the gold or whatever. But you find out that she was after the cross while he was after the gold. So, cause she's crippled, and she pretty much believed that she touched that cloth that she'd be healed. So of course, when her stepbrother, you know, pretty much want to exile her out. Basically, don't need you. We got the cross. We don't need you no more. She shot and killed him or whatever, and then told Rafe, help me out. Rafe pretty much blew her off like, I don't need you either. You know, nothing you could do. So it shows her at the end of the season and walking in the area. And when I've been thinking this, because you never seen John B's dad die. You see, he made it to shore. He watched the shore. You see him build a barricade for himself. But you didn't really see him die. You just figured he died. And so I kept thinking to myself, I don't know if I mentioned in my first review for season 1, that maybe he's not alive. But you always had that thought that maybe he's not alive. Now, of course, at the end of season 2, she walks in and she's talking. You know that that's John B's dad. So he pretty much told her, she was like, if he's looking at another treasure or something, he's looking at plotting on. And she tells him, you know, the situation. He pretty much saying, you got to help my son. Because she got money. She got wealth. So her thing is not, she doesn't really want the gold. She already got wealth. So she don't want the gold cross, big gold cross. The cross is like 7 feet long. She don't want the cross for the wealth. She want it for the healing factor. Meanwhile, Big John said she needed to help her son. So that was pretty much the end of the season. Decent season. Just a lot of ridiculousness going on. Stuff that you watch in episodes, you be like, come on, they just did that. That was weak. They could have wrote that better. But other than that, it was decent overall. It definitely have you tuned in to Outer Banks season 3. Like I said before in the beginning of the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if you've been following the series. Till next time.